like I said, they're gonna think you crazy at first until it works.
Welcome back to Ignite Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Austin T. Gully, and we're here to have genuine conversations with authentic people to help amplify their voice and figure out what ignites their why. Today's guest was born out of the country, but as an infant, he was brought over to the United States, where he was born in Florida. He recently finished his final season as a senior collegiate basketball player at Blue Mountain Christian University. And in addition to his athletic pursuits, he is also a TikTok live creator. So please give a warm welcome to Keevin Etienne. Keevin, how you doing today, man?
What's good, man? I'm good. Just blessed to be, up and alive and moving.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. It has been one of the busiest weeks of my life. But I was like, when you wanted to do this recording today, I was like, I'll squeeze it in. I can make it work.
I was just trying to get a good time for you and a good time for me. So, I mean, this was probably the best time that would work. So,
I'm moving this weekend. So, like, I'm like in the process of like packing up my apartment. And
yeah.
I was just like, I love recording. I love doing this podcast. So I was like, with all the stress that's going on, I need this in my life right now. So I'm excited to have this conversation, man. So
definitely. Me too.
Let's just hop straight into it. So
all right, let's
what
go.
is your story, man?
My story itself is actually interesting for me and for like me to share with other people because especially when it comes to when it first started with basketball, I wasn't originally a basketball player. I never like grew up playing basketball. Like, most people, they have their kids at a young age playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
I was outside running around doing whatever. And I used to play soccer. I used to play soccer a lot. Like going through middle school, play soccer. Once I got to like eighth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, I started just playing all other sports. And not till like my eighth grade year, I think it was my seventh grade year, I transferred halfway through the year to Popka middle school. And my coach, one of these coaches was just like, a basketball coach was like, yo, you playing basketball this year? And he seen that I was pretty tall. And so I'm like, sure, I'll give it a try. Yeah, you feel me? Knowing that I never really played basketball before, like organized or anything like that. And so we went there. And the first year, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try out. Never tried out. I never tried out. And then so the next year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try out now. And then so this crazy story is like, I tried out. I was so bad, and so bad. Like I didn't make the team, which was like obviously I knew I wasn't gonna make the team. But that year, I played every sport, and I wanted to finish off playing basketball. Like I wanted to play basketball because I played every sport at the school.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just only right to like play basketball at the end. And so as that went on, I got cut, but he asked me to come back. And which most times you don't ever hear that. And the middle school team is like, and he was like, be on my practice team and hopefully you get a chance to make the team. And so as I was on the practice team, like it was bad, but I just played with with energy, with motor. So when that was going on, he gave me a chance. He gave me a chance to be on the actual team. And when I played on the actual team, I was still bad. But he seen that was like me working. He seen that I wanted to work. I wanted to be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to continue it. So middle school, so I just continued. That season I was awful. And I went into track. I went to playing running track. So right after basketball season, I went and ran track. As I'm at my meet, another school's basketball coach is there watching one of his athletes that played basketball for him. And he's like, yo, you Keevin, right? I'm like, yeah. It's like, you coming to Popka High next year? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you plan on trying out for the basketball team in the summer? Like, yeah, I'll try, but it's not really a good chance that I know if I'll make it. I wasn't never like a real like confident kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I knew I was good at track. So like I was just out there just running. And so I get to 8th grade, going to 9th grade summer. And so we have summer league, this thing where, you come in, everybody playing in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm there. I'm not great. I'm not good. Like, I'm really like the worst player there, but everybody, like, these coaches are believing in me to be good. And it was a struggling factor because, when everybody think it's like, oh, I'm better than him. Why he getting a chance?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over here like, bro, you can have it. Like, I'm not good at this. Like, you can have it. And so as that went on, that year has taught me a lot how to work because that summer league year, I just sat the whole time. Like, usually in middle school, they're gonna play you. I sat the whole time. Like, I was the kid that you put in 30 seconds left. Yeah, 30 seconds left. Like, okay, like, let's see if you can get one. And everybody on the bench go crazy. And me at the moment, I didn't know that. Like, I was just,
You were just happy
trying
to
to
be
play. Yeah, I was just happy to be there. But I was also getting frustrated because my competitive nature was like, dang, like, I want to be good at this. And so that's when I started really taking basketball like seriously. That summer, I was just like working out, watching YouTube videos. I didn't know nothing. Like, I never looked at anybody to be like, okay, this is my role model. Let me go ahead and model my game after them. I was just looking at YouTube, seeing how to do moves, searching up how to do certain things. So going into my 9th grade year, coach, I remember him like everything. Coach Graham, RIP Coach Graham, man. He took a chance on me. 9th grade year, he took a chance on me. Keep in mind, he was the most frustrating, funniest coach I ever had because he'll make us just run the whole time. We'll run the whole time. Like, and everybody's complaining. I'm just like, I'm in track shape. I can still run. Like, I'm still thinking that when I'm really not. And so he helped me develop by giving me a chance and was just like, just go out there and play.
Mm-hmm.
As a freshman, like, just go out there and play and just think the game while you play. And so that's pretty much one of the biggest things I advocate with just basketball, just thinking the game and trying to play as hard as I can every time now, because he gave me that motivation early to just be like, as long as you're playing hard, there's always a reason to keep you on the court. And so I carried that on. And so my high school team, we were more of my head coach was more of a defensive minded coach. He he cared about offense. Obviously you have to score, but
Defense wins
defensively,
championships.
he defense wins championships, and that's what he preached. And so going to my sophomore year, I wanted to be on varsity. So because I had a decent freshman year, going into my sophomore year, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I think I could play a little bit with the big boys. Like, I was gaining confidence, I was moving, like I was like getting my weight up, and we continued, and there was my other coach, Coach Mike, and Coach Grisick. Coach Mike helped me, so I was supposed to go and be on JV, but as a freshman, as towards the end of my freshman year, varsity was still playing. So
You're right.
I was always watching varsity play and practice. So I was always visualizing them, and I would work out after. My practice. Then I'll watch varsity workout, and then I'll go try to work out on the side while they working out. I'll just be like, okay, coach keeping me in here. He's not kicking me out. We try to work out. And then it was one day, me and Coach Mike, we got together, and he was just working me out. I was like, whatever it takes for me to be on varsity. And he was just working me out, putting my body through, I don't know what that year. Like, I never put my body through that at that moment. So I was just working. and just trying to get better, just trying to get better. And junior, senior year, my sophomore year, going back to my sophomore year, I went and made varsity. Made varsity. I was just so shocked. I was like, I'm out of varsity, like because it was a test run. Because in that we have summer league and stuff. So in that test run, we was just going in and just basically playing both sides, varsity and JV and stuff. But I thought I was gonna be on JV, and even my coach thought I was gonna be on JV. But my first varsity like preseason game, you could say, I played pretty well, and then the second one I played pretty great there too. Because he used to pick me up. He used to take me to my house. He used to call me. He's like, yeah, such and such. Like, I think, we was gonna have you on both, but now I think you could just be with the big dogs. And so my sophomore year was just an experience of being with varsity, just playing when I could, making sure I was efficient when I could. And then my junior year, we won the district. My senior year, we was probably the best team that came through there because we probably lost 4 games. But I think my biggest thing with my senior year was my motivation because my father passed away my senior year, going into my senior year. And like me and him, I haven't seen my father since I was like 10 years old at that time. And so it was a tough time for me going into there, but that's the like main reason why I wear 5. Like people ask me why I changed that's the reason why I wear 5 because he passed away August 5th. And it was just tough at the moment because I was just playing the game. Like, my mom comes in, knock, knock. She's like, I'm like, you okay? Why you crying? Why you crying? And she was like, yeah, your father passed. And then so when I heard my father pass, it was just like, dang. Like at the moment I couldn't react. I didn't know how to react. Like, so it was just a tough time. And then so like at the time being as well, because I was going to start school, I wasn't even able to go to the funeral. Like just understanding like my mom wanted me to be great in the classroom and not like, get caught up with that. I just couldn't go to the funeral because the funeral was in a whole different other place. And so it was very tough when that happened. But that motivated me too to just be like work even harder. Like I went in now, I was like, okay, I'm gonna pursue the main thing. Like I fell in love with this game. I'm gonna try to pursue it as much as I can, as hard as I can. And so going into my senior year, I had like probably 0 scholarships for real. Like I had interest with different little schools and stuff, but I had no scholarships as like that. And towards the end of my senior year, I had a few scholarships, but they were low school scholarships. And people always they like, dang, like I ain't got no schools that I want. But it's not really what you want. It's really who wants you.
Right.
And I'll be trying to put that into people's mind, like you're not gonna always get what you want. Is what's gonna benefit you and help you get an education and have you get a free education, because there's a lot of people that wish they could. And so
A lot of people
yeah,
think it's D1 or bust, and that's not the
nah, for sure.
case.
They always think it's D1 or bust.
There's so many other avenues you can take, especially with the NAIA D1, D2, D3. Like just making it to college athletics is
Mm-hmm.
a success itself. No matter what level you're on, it's going to be competitive. And I think now with like the transfer portal and everything that's changing the game, it doesn't matter where you start. As long as if you're good, you're good. You know what I mean?
Nah, for sure.
And that's the thing about sports. And I want to go back to kind of some of the things you were talking about, because as an athlete, I think it's always interesting to hear other people's stories. And when you have that
Mm-hmm.
you had one coach who believed in you, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
And
all it takes.
that's really all it takes. And I coach soccer myself, and I think it's interesting how you play soccer, because when I teach kids who don't know how to play soccer, I teach them in basketball terms because they understand
Oh,
basketball. Because I
that's
feel
crazy.
basketball and soccer are so similar
Nah,
in
definitely.
the way the game is played, if that makes sense. Like you're still trying to move the ball around to break down your defense, and you want to pick and choose when you make your run and when you cut and things of that nature. So like
Nah, for sure. And
that's how I
everybody,
explain it. So it's just interesting because I feel like the skills you can get from soccer, it teaches you lateral movements, it teaches you how to be on your feet, it teaches you great footwork. Those are all things you need in soccer. I mean, in basketball. So
nah,
they all
definitely.
translate. And it's interesting how you said you ran track, because I try to tell people all the time is like, people don't realize, yes, track is a lot of running, but what you learn from track is you learn speed, you learn agility, you learn control, you learn strength. And again, you're working on those lateral movements and just learning how to strengthen the lower body, especially in a sport that is very like running.
Yeah.
You run a lot in
Yeah,
basketball and you
you're
don't
running,
realize
but
it.
you're learning so much about your body, which was crazy.
And
And that,
it's just crazy to me because when you're talking about your journey, everyone's journey is different. And I think when you're looking at sports, you always have that drive, right? There's
nah,
something
for
that
sure.
will inside you to want to be great. And I think your journey is a testament to that, because you
Mhm.
tried something and you were told no. And in that no, most people are just like, all right, I tried, I'm done, right? But
For sure.
there was something inside of you that was just a little bit different, that was like, I'm gonna push for this, i'm gonna I'm gonna work for this. And when you mentioned your dad passing away, I'm sorry to hear that.
Nah, you
But I
good.
can only imagine like the emotions like you kind of went through. But
Yeah,
being an athlete, I think that's one way we cope with things. It's not always the healthiest way, sometimes I feel, because
yeah.
we don't necessarily deal with the emotions we need to deal with. I feel like they're always going to be there. We're going to have to address them someday. But we used our sports as a way to like push through, get our mind off of things, clear our minds, and not necessarily address the actual emotion we need to feel. But I think it's just interesting. But I do have a question for you, and
What's up?
it's going to be non-sports related because I'm very
Go ahead.
curious. So, who is Keevin outside of sports? So take basketball away.
Okay.
Take your whole identity of I'm an athlete away from you right now. And I want to
Okay.
know, who is Keevin and who do you want him to be?
So I'm me personally outside of basketball, I'm a funny, like goofy, like wants to, make you smile, wants to make everybody like light up the room and enjoy like genuine like people and create like good energy because like that's like people always tell me my smile lights up the whole room. And so I used to just be like, I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna just keep smiling. I used to just be like, I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna smile. And so, but just my ability to just have conversation with anybody, I feel like I could talk to the wall if we talk back, and just understanding that, like, you know, at the end of the day, I'm still a human being, and I don't have to have sports to just like rely on, and just understand that I could find a different path with anything, and just like I was saying to you, like not being one dimensional, just being able to like find other interests is like, because for me I can not like I can draw. Like most people don't understand is I can draw, I can do art, I cut hair. I just dabble in a lot of different stuff because that's the best way to try to figure out yourself,
Hmm.
and just understanding that you're not always gonna be the most talented. You're not gonna always be the most like, gifted person in the world, but what makes you you is you. And so you just gotta embrace what makes you you and just find your way. And me finding my way is just, like just, streaming. Like for example, like I'll stream and just, being a human being that just like wants to do things, like wants to travel, wants to just like learn about other cultures, learn about other people, just bring a connection together instead of just always just, okay, I know this, I'm gonna just stick to this. Like I like to get out my comfort zone, and I feel like that's the biggest thing with me, and I think that's probably the main reason why I started like streaming and stuff, just getting out your comfort zone, and then understanding that it's okay. It's okay to be you. It's okay.
Hmm.
You don't have to be this basketball player that does this and that and the third. It's okay to just, be that guy that's you love. Because at the end of the day, it's about self love. And, if you ultimately have so much more self-love for yourself, it don't matter what other people think. And that's just the biggest thing with me. I just like being free and
And
being me.
that's the hardest part though. That is the hardest part. I think loving yourself and not caring what other people think is so hard. I've always,
Sure.
especially for me, because I've always been kind of like a perfectionist. And I always could relate it back to just like my experiences as an athlete, just because
Mm-hmm.
my coaches, I always tell this story because there was this one coach. I played basketball like my entire life
Mm-hmm.
until my sophomore year, and I quit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why I quit, but I tried to go back. I'm not gonna say like I quit and like just gave up. Like I just didn't play my sophomore year. Tried to go back junior year, had surgery on my shoulder, so I didn't get to play. Anyways, but there's this coach when I was growing up. His name was Coach Fred, RP Coach Fred.
Mm-hmm.
But he always yelled at me, regardless if I was doing well or if I was doing something wrong. He always was yelling, and it was only me. Like it didn't. No one else on my team got yelled at the way I did,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
one day, my dad just walked up to him. He's like, "Dude, like, why are you always yelling at my son? It's not you don't
Yeah.
yell at anyone else, but the way you yell at my son, like, why? Like, I just want to know why." And he's like, "When you yell at him, he works harder, and he has a ton of potential." And
Mm.
I've always been that person. Is like I'm not like I want to be the best. I'm gonna work to be the best. And if I feel like I'm doing something wrong and I'm not like making my coach happy, I'm gonna work harder because that's just who I am. It's my human nature. Like I'm gonna do whatever I can to be the best, but also put my team in a position to win. So, and it kind of just translated to everything in my life, right? Whether it
Yeah.
was on the playing surface or in the classroom, like I got pissed off I think it was like my sophomore year of college because I had a 3.9 GPA.
Oh wow. So you
Like
definitely a
I was pissed. I was like, someone's like, "Oh, that's amazing." I said, "I had straight A's and one A minus, and that A minus really pissed me off because it took me from a 4.0 to a 3.9."
That's great.
And I was just, and that's just like, and people are just like, "Austin, it's still good." I'm like, "Yeah, but it could have been better." And that's just like that was my mindset, and that's how I've
Yeah.
always been. And trying to now, as like I'm an adult, trying to retrain my thinking to
Yeah.
understand that my best is gonna look different every single day has been a
Nah, for sure.
challenge. But I think it's interesting how you're saying like loving yourself and doing what you love to do because there's always going to be someone who's going to say something and there's always
Nah,
going
for
to
sure.
be someone who doesn't agree.
And and that's the biggest model right now. It's crazy until it works. Like for me, like that's the biggest thing with me. And I tell people now, I'm like, it's just crazy until it works. People gonna think you're crazy. People are gonna think you're delusional, and like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
nah. But until it works, it's like, congratulations, bro. I knew you could do it. Da da da. And the
Nah, I
third,
don't
and
want
which,
those. I don't want those congratulations. Like if you
and I
wasn't with
know
me
at
from the
that time,
beginning,
it's
I don't want it. And that's the thing. People are gonna doubt you, and I feel like you can maybe relate to this, but as like a content creator, because I feel like I do that all the time with this podcast, is just the people you expect to like support you and like share your stuff and be there for you.
mhm.
Those are the ones that like aren't really there. It's
Yeah,
weird because they support in a different way. I'm not saying that they don't
nah, for
support me,
sure.
but like someone had to like put me like bring me back to life, and they're like you can't expect them to just like because you expect it because you're like, oh, you're my homie, like you're my friend, like you're my family. But then it's crazy because you notice like the people that truly need your content, like those
Hmm.
strangers and those people that like consistently are there, those are the ones that support you the most. It's because that's what they need. They
Nah, for
need that
sure.
content. Where your family and friends, they might not need your content. They'll support you in what you're doing, but it's just a different relationship. And I had to really take a step back and truly understand that because I know my friends and family support my podcast, but it's
Nah,
just
for
it's just
sure.
a different game.
It is a different game, and it's just a game where you just have to get used to because at the end of the day, you want your people, the closest people to you, to support you, but you have to be okay with not them going the extra mile like how
Hmm.
somebody else would that don't know you. Sometimes a stranger is your best friend without you knowing they're your best friend, and so you have to understand like it's okay to not have that support that support base that you think is coming from, but you have to realize you're growing something bigger with a whole different support base, and you have to be okay with that. And they'll come along. They'll come along in different ways, but it's gonna happen. Like I said, they're gonna think you crazy at first until it works.
It's a slow grind. I will say that.
Nah, definitely.
And the hardest part for me when it comes to content creation is consistency,
Nah, for
because
sure.
being consistent is sometimes easy, but it's also gets overwhelming, and you're just like, damn, I need a break. Like, this is
Nah, for
exhausting.
sure.
I'm mentally drained. I have X, Y, and Z going on in my life. I just,
And
it's
then that's the thing with content creation. They expect you to be the same person every day. And bring that consistency and like discipline to what you're doing is always hard. But not a lot of people does it at a great rate because of that. So that's where you gotta find what's your niche. Like, and you gotta be able to tell your people's like, today's just not a great day for me, like, and what's been going on through you. And then some will understand and still support you, and some will just be like, all right, I'm just tuned in when he's just a better person this day or such and such. And so I think it's all about just, the grind of just being consistent and just loving what you do. If you really love what you do, you're going to do it without thinking. You naturally going to just want to keep doing it.
right, because it's
And
not work
so
to you. Because
it's not
it's
work.
not work.
So
It's
you're just gonna
like
keep
I
wanting
love
to do it,
it.
whether you lose sleep or not. Like you're just gonna keep wanting to do what you want to, what you love, versus like, oh, I gotta do this for now. Like,
hmm
I
That's
mean,
why they tell
now it's
people,
a whole different mindset with you.
when you find a job, do something you love, because if you don't love it, you're gonna hate going into work every single day. And I think
Nah,
that's
definitely.
why when you said like, does Friday work to record the podcast? I said, absolutely. I made it work. You know what I mean? Like,
Nah, for
I'm
sure.
gonna
You
make it
definitely
work
made it work. You definitely made it
because
work.
I love what I do. I love doing this. I love having conversations. So like, I'm going to make time for it. And I think that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing is sometimes we get so caught up in doing what other people want us to do and not taking that step back and thinking like, what do I want? What's going to make
Nah, for
me
sure.
happy? Because we can spend our entire lives trying to make Susie happy or Johnny happy or whoever else happy, but if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're doing ourselves that disservice. So
Nah, for
I
sure.
feel you when you're saying do something you love, because you you definitely have to, because I've worked jobs where I've like been like, ugh, I don't want to go in today.
Yeah. Nah, definitely. That's just you just gotta, yeah. You basically hit everything on the nail. Yeah, you got to. You gotta love what you do, man. And then once you love what you do, it's gonna figure itself out.
Second nature, it just comes natural at that point. So I want to move on
Nah,
to this next segment here. It's the biggest chunk of the podcast, because it's called Ignite Your Why for a reason.
mm-hmm.
So what is
Nah,
it
for
that
sure.
truly inspires you, but most importantly, what is it that ignites your why?
Um, the main thing that truly inspires me, I would say, my mother is one of the main things that really inspired me, just off of her work ethic. Like she works so, like everybody can say they work hard, but like she's working hard for
hmm
everybody. Like she's working hard for herself, her kids, her man, like, you know, her friend. Like I just be like, how you got time for all these people and stuff like that? And then I just see how hard she works and how much she works when she doesn't have to do all that she does. Like, and the thing about it is sometimes she gets so caught up in her work that it makes her like forget and be stubborn to the point where it's like, yo, you gotta relax. Like you gotta chill. Like you gotta
Yeah.
give yourself, like, your body a break. And that's one of my whys. My whys is also just like, just not just my overall family, but just the connections and like I build with people that I know I couldn't build before. Like, and just seeing other people use me as just a motivational story, or just, some kids texting me randomly, yo, hey, you my favorite player, this and that, you got me wanting to do this, you want me, like, and it's just like blessing others, I think, is the biggest reason why I say like that's my why, because like me not knowing that and just seeing it like move and just grow is the biggest thing for me, because uh, like I even motivated my little cousin like to just become this great guy, great athlete, great person that I'm so proud of as of right now and stuff like that. And it's just so much different whys that grow every year. And then it's like I feel like you're never gonna have the same why every year. It's just your whys just keep growing. Like there's
Say that
more whys.
again. Say that again. You're not gonna have
You
the
would never
same what?
have the same whys every year.
Because we grow, and I think that's the biggest thing people don't understand. That is, our why today is what it is today, and tomorrow it could be different because
Definitely.
our life experiences and the things we go through help shape our journey, and our whys change over time. And I think that's what some people struggle with, is because you're on this journey of doing something, and then suddenly, like, it could change, and that's
Nah,
okay.
definitely. It could
And
definitely change.
people don't realize that it's like it's okay to have a change. It's okay to want to do something different, because in the end you have to fulfill what you want to do. And when you were talking about your mom, I think it's always interesting when people will talk about their childhood and their parents and
Mhm.
their upbringing, because you never truly realize the values that are instilled in you from your parents. And
Nah, for sure.
your hard work ethic is from your mom, because she set that
Nah,
example
definitely.
for you. And I think that's just a beautiful thing, because
I think about that all the time. And like at first, I never used to think like that. Used to just be like, I just work hard because I want to be good at things.
mhm,
But then it's just like I see, like as I got older, I see how hard she works, and like this past summer really made me realize like I need family more than anything, because this past summer my grandma passed away, and so that was my mom's why. And seeing her why and seeing how she was, it was just like very emotional, and like it grew my why. Like
mhm.
it grew that, because it was just like, this is the person that motivates you and you motivate me. I want to motivate the next person and the next person and the next person, and then just constantly grow from that, and just being like blessed and understanding that like my whys are gonna be different every year, and, just understanding to be comfortable with it. Like most people won't be comfortable with change. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, thank you. And but sometimes change is a great thing, and you just gotta adapt to it. Because the quicker you adapt, the
Yep.
better.
Change is scary. I will not lie. Change is scary.
Yeah, change is
But
definitely scary.
the thing with change is you don't know the outcome, and that's okay. It could be a great thing, but if it's not, there's a lesson in it, right?
Not for sure.
No matter what happens, you're gonna learn, you're gonna grow. And I think it's just interesting, because I always tell people I feel like our purpose is bigger than ourselves sometimes, right? We're here, and
Yeah,
I want
it's
to leave
always.
I want to leave a positive impact, right? I work with the youth, I work at the community, and my biggest thing is I want to help inspire them to be the best versions of themselves, because growing up in a lower income area, you get exposed to a lot of different things. And I tell people every kid has a promising future, right? Because you hear this term like this kid's at risk, or this community is at risk. No, I always try to say they're at promise. They're at promise
Mm,
because they have a promising future. It's just we as adults and people have to give them the resources they need to be successful, because
nah,
everyone
for
deserves
sure.
that fair opportunity. So
Yeah,
I
and then I
always,
feel like
yeah.
that's another thing. When you say, you kind of hit it when you said we have to give them the resources. I don't think anywhere where I would be in life is if I didn't have another person trying to help me. And we so big on being independent and doing things our way and having our way, but you need a guidance. Everybody needs
Mhm.
somebody. That's what we may get on this earth by ourselves, but we always need somebody to help you get to that next step in life. Whether it's when it comes to sports or just life, you're gonna always need somebody else. And because it's always good to look at things in different perspectives. And most people don't understand like that's how you grow. If you how you gonna grow if you always see things one way? That it makes no
You
sense.
don't. You don't. You're stagnant.
So
You're
yeah,
stuck.
you stagnate, sure, and it's like understanding that you're gonna always need help and embracing help. Most people can have help, but they don't embrace it, and
Hmm.
and being putting your pride to the side and just embracing help with anything is like the best thing I feel like because that helps you grow eventually.
People are stubborn though. I think that's the thing is like they see asking for help as a weakness. And in reality, it's not because
Yeah,
you don't have every answer. And there's someone out there who has an answer for you. It's just networking is so key. And I think that's the biggest thing I learned in college is just make connections because you
nah, for
never
sure.
know who knows who or how it can help you. And I would not be where I'm at today without my connections that I've made. Right. And people are
Nah,
always
for
like,
sure.
how do you get these people on your podcast? How do you know this person? How do you know that person? I make connections. I think that's the biggest thing because I don't have every answer. And I think knowledge is power. So
Nah, definitely.
the more knowledge I can have, the better. And the only way I'm gonna learn is by either reading about it or talking about it and having those conversations. And I
Mhm.
don't like to
That-
read, so I'm gonna definitely talk about it.
that's definitely true though. At least you're honest with that though, because a lot
I
of people would definitely say they like to read when they don't like to read.
Nah, fuck that. I hate reading. I literally hate reading. Someone's like, "You should read this book," and I was like, "Bruh, it's not happening."
I'll watch the movie. Yeah.
Because I have like a very short attention span, and like I think it's just like my ADHD. Like I don't have
Yeah.
the time to just sit down and focus
Sit
on a
there.
book.
And
Like
yeah.
I can't. I'll be like,
Yeah, it's definitely hard.
you see me when I'm recording this podcast. Like my hands are constantly moving. I'm always moving back and forth because I can't sit still. So what makes you think I can sit here and read a book?
Hey, that is true though.
I'm telling you. Like I've read books before, like don't get me wrong. But if
Yeah.
I'm reading a book, it has to if it don't grab my attention within the first 2 pages, I'm not doing it. Mm-mm.
That's just like a movie too. If it don't grab my attention the first few scenes, yeah, all right, turn off.
That's how I am with
But
music. The same way with music. If the song takes too long to start and it's just
yeah,
instrumentals for like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, I'm skipping it. Like I don't care if you have the best song in the world, like it took too long to start. Like
no, for sure. I understand that for sure.
cuz I'll be in the car sometimes and I'm just like is this song going to start? Like
Yeah, you just all
nah,
right.
skip.
The fast forward. Yeah,
I need something like where I can like either like sing along to, rap along to, but if it's just instrumentals, I can't do it. I can't. Nope.
no, for sure.
But I do have one question for you. I've never asked this question on this podcast, so I'm kind of curious of what your
Mm-hmm.
answer is going to be. But with you being an athlete and with your passions and your whys and what you're wanting to do, now that we have kind of a better understanding of who Keevin is as a person, what do you want your legacy to be?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Um, my legacy. I want my legacy to be someone like that's remembered. And when I mean remembered, I mean like for great things because everybody wants to be this and that, but I just want to be remembered as somebody that impacted your life some way, somehow. Whether I made you a great person, where it's just things went phenomenal, or inspired you to be a great person, and just was like, okay, this kid was annoying back then, but now he actually making sense. Like, and and that's the biggest thing with me. I think just always trying to learn and be and and teach others. I think that's the biggest thing with me. Trying to just be remembered as that. Like, oh, okay, he taught me this, he taught me that. He also learned this from me and this that, and that's yeah. Like, I think that's like the biggest thing because being remembered for good things. And like, I obviously want to be remembered not just like like by a small group of people. I want to make a big impact on the world one day and just, bring a lot of guidance to the world and be able to have those tough conversations with people. I think in this life that we live, we kind of go away with having these tough conversations that could really like them constructive criticism type of conversations that could really just, you know, put your mind in a trance where it's like, oh, you've been feeling this way. But in reality they're just trying to help. And
Hmm.
I think we, as our generation goes, we kind of move away from that because we take that as like conflict and people are just, arguing and stuff more and more. So we need to take it more as in like inspiration and trying to grow. Like that's my biggest thing in life, always trying to grow. And I think, yeah, I even got it on me, like continuous growth, because you always should be trying to grow mentally, physically, spiritually. Like you always want growth in your life, and without growth, you just gonna just fall into the same
Hmm.
category as everybody that didn't grow. And yeah, that's one thing I definitely want to be remembered and known for, and just like just a guy that inspired multiple people and gave people a chance to believe in what they believe and go full throttle.
I love that, dude. And one, I'm proud of you because I thought you would. I'm glad you didn't mention sports because I think
Yeah,
that's so important though because I feel
yeah,
like a lot of athletes get caught up in just their identity as an athlete, that it's like I
yeah.
want to be known as a great basketball player or I want to be known as like this phenomenal athlete, but you're much more than that. And I think that's the biggest thing is like you can see the growth, and it's important. And like you said, having tough conversations is important. Tough
Nah, definitely.
conversations tough conversations are the best conversations, honestly. As hard as they are, like you said, you can't have growth without them. And I think it's hard nowadays because our society and our generation makes everything in life seem glorious and sexy on social media that they don't want to have those conversations. They'd rather just push forward and not even worried about it. And it's just
Definitely.
how can we have a relationship or any kind of connection if we're not willing to have those deep hard conversations, because we're not going to
Nah.
agree on everything. We're not going to have the same opinions on
And
things.
I think that just helps you as a person with any type of situation you deal with,
Hmm.
whether it's like it's a boss or a girlfriend or whatever. Like it's just having those tough conversations, knowing how to talk to each other, seeing different perspectives, and understanding different perspectives. Because we always can go back and forth, but we can always like listen. God gave us two ears and one mouth for one reason, like for a reason, like so. I feel like you might as well take advantage of that and listen more than you just always talking, because I think when we argue or have discussions, that's the biggest thing. Like we tend to just try to go back and forth all the time versus just giving each other a chance to talk and listen and understand what the person's talking about.
Seek to understand. I might not have to agree, but I can seek to understand. Like, I understand where you're coming from. I don't agree with it,
Yeah,
but I understand. I think that's the thing though, is people just want to be heard. I think that's
yeah,
the biggest thing is like, I don't necessarily want you to agree with me, but I
yeah,
want you to hear me. I want you to understand where I'm coming from, because that's the
yeah.
biggest thing. If you feel seen and you feel heard, that goes a long way than just not being seen or heard. You
Nah,
know
for
what I
sure.
mean? So it
Yeah,
definitely goes a long way. And I tell people all the time, is just I always try to acknowledge what people are saying to me, no matter
yeah,
what conversation I'm having, because if I can acknowledge you, that means I'm seeing you, right? And then I'm gonna try to find a way to align with you, whether like I want you to understand, like I'm
yeah.
aligning with you because I understand what you're saying. I might not agree with it, but I understand it, right? And then I want to assure you that like I'm listening, right? There is
Nah,
this
that's definitely, yeah, that's very true. You gotta do that. I feel like
I do that with
you know.
every conversation I have. I feel like it takes me, you don't realize you do it in life, but like when you have conversations with people, you do those three things. You always find a way to understand, to acknowledge them, to make them feel seen and heard, and then assuring them that, hey. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, for sure.
We gonna get through this. We gonna get through this.
Nah, I definitely like communication is always the best thing, and it's the hardest thing to do. So,
Communication is key, and people
nah,
just
definitely.
some people don't like to communicate, and that's okay. But hopefully
Yeah,
they'll
that's a little frustrating, and sometimes
hopefully
you
they'll
just
figure it out.
yeah, you gotta be a bigger person and just let them figure it out.
So I want to move on to my favorite segment of this entire podcast. So everyone knows I love talking about mental health. I'm a big mental health advocate. So any chance I get to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it, especially with men, because I feel like it's something that people kind of frown upon within the male community. So my question for you, Keevin, is just how have you been taking care of yourself mentally?
That's a great question. How I've been taking care of myself mentally. Mentally, I've been finding ways to make myself, happy and finding hobbies where it doesn't always have to be sports to make myself
Mhm.
happy, and just understanding that you can relax. It's like it's not. Don't worry about pressure. Don't worry about what the other person thinking. You can you can learn a lot about yourself by just being with yourself. And people think it's always a huge thing to be alone. Like it's scary to be alone. I understand, but you get to figure yourself out when you're alone, and you get to figure out what kind of energies you want
Mhm.
around you when you're alone. And so you have to be your best. How can I say to yourself? You got to self motivate yourself with everything you do, especially when it comes to mental health. Like you're gonna face adversity, but you have to be willing to face it versus just letting it come and just taking it in. You have to face it. You have to face a lot of things in your life and love it and really want to like pursue whatever it is afterwards, because I feel like sometimes when mental health, when you face adversity, you kind of want to shut down. You got to get out
Mhm.
that mind zone of shutting down, but embracing it and building change. Like we go back to change, like we want to build that change, and it's always good to see that, because a year or a few months later, you wouldn't even realize the growth that you
Yeah.
got based off of what you did. And so, when it comes to facing mental health, I just say find yourself, find what you like to do, what makes you smile, what makes you like. If you like going out and just walking around, there's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead, go out, like you feel me. If you want to just, all right, let me go ahead. What could get my mind off of certain things? Like, okay, let me draw. Let me do something creative. Let me find my inner passion. Let me find something that I'm really good at that I didn't know. Maybe I
Mhm.
could whistle pretty good, and I didn't know that. Like just understanding that, and when you are around other people, and you can see that they're struggling, you try to build them up. Not always, don't try to build them up with just, oh, they look sad. Let me just try to build you up. Like genuinely try to help other people out, and take it as if it was you. If you would want somebody else to help you out. And I think that's the biggest thing. Once you start putting yourself in other people's shoes,
Mhm.
you start seeing a different picture and a bigger picture. So it's like, okay, I would want to help myself out in this situation. Okay, like maybe such and such don't like tough conversations, but you can find a way to easy out the conversation,
Mhm.
and and love them and stuff like that. But it's just a process of just it starts with you first, and building your self confidence and loving on yourself and being okay with being by yourself. And when you're by yourself, find things that make you happy, and then you can put that great energy that you build up to another person and build their energy, and hopefully they do the same thing, and it just travels, and which is a beautiful thing.
Hey, I feel you because I think the one thing I'm taking away from this is it's easy to mask our emotions.
For sure.
It's easy to bottle things up. It's easy to be like, no, thank you, I'm okay. And one thing I've learned from therapy is just like it's okay to feel what you need to feel, whether you feel
It
it for
is.
30 seconds or 20 minutes. You have the power and control to feel what you need to feel. And I think when we seek to understand and regulate our own emotions, that's when we have the biggest growth. And one thing you said is just like, not everyone, you said when you see someone who might look sad, but sometimes like it's not visible. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like not everyone's gonna show their emotions on their face and just show how they're feeling. A lot of people are very good at pretending. Like there's people out
Nah,
here
for sure.
who pretend every single day and put on a smile, but in reality, they're in a very dark place. And I think the biggest thing is just show kindness to every single person because you never know what someone's going through. And I think just simply smiling at someone can change their whole day. You know what I mean?
Nah,
Like,
definitely.
or just asking,
I
like,
believe that.
how are you doing? And then hearing their response because most of the time people are like, oh, like, I'm fine. I'm
Hmm.
fine is a statement that's like, I'm not really fine most of the time. So
Nah,
it's
for
being
sure.
able to seek to understand, but also I don't like to force people to talk about their emotions. Like I just want you to
Hmm.
feel comfortable. Like, hey, like I'm here for you. Knowing that someone's there for you goes a lot farther than just feeling alone. Like, yes, like you said, it's you need to be okay with being alone because I feel like
Hmm.
we're gonna be in those moments where we are alone. But
Hmm.
dealing with those intrusive thoughts and those dark thoughts by yourself is scary. And it's just how can I when I feel myself going to that dark place, learning how to get out of that place is what's important. And
Nah,
that's what people
definitely.
struggle with the most. And I think my therapist always explains it to me as like, you know, those scrunchy balls that like expand and like come together. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Those are our emotions. Like think of those as your emotions, right? Most of the time
Mm.
we're living in here, right? But if you let that ball expand, like that's allowing you to feel those emotions you need to feel. But guess what? Just like that ball, like how we can control it going in and out, you can do that with your
Hmm.
emotions too. You can control
That's a
when
great
you're
way
going
to
to
put
feel
it.
those.
That is a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Because like if I want to feel this, I'm gonna feel it, right? If I don't want to
Yeah,
feel it, I'm gonna close it off, and we gonna move forward. And I think that's
yeah,
the thing is allowing yourself that time, allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel. Because I've
yeah. Sometimes
learned
you got to just feel it, just to understand it. Because the more you hold it in, the tougher things get,
it's kind
and
of
you don't
like
even realize it.
you're kind of like a Coke bottle. You know, we can
Nah.
keep everything in, but
You about to explode.
you
You
put
gonna
that
explode.
Mentos in, it's gonna explode. You know, so
Nah, definitely.
it gets to a point where you can only take so much, and I've learned that throughout life because I've been that person who just bottles everything inside. So and just seek to help other people because I didn't want to help myself. And now that I'm 27, about to be 28, I'm like, oh, like I need to take care of me because no one else is
Yeah.
doing that for me.
No, for sure. That you definitely got to take care of yourself and those things. But you hit it. You hit everything on point right there.
I told you, I love mental health. Like, feel what you need to feel, bro. Like, I'm telling you. And I think that's the thing is people feel like they have to feel everything at once. Like
Nah, it's
you
yeah,
don't have to feel this all at once. Like you can dissect it piece by piece and kind of just take it one day at a time, but understand that if you don't address it, you're never gonna heal from that situation. It's never gonna get better. And I think that's the hardest thing is just knowing that you're gonna have to feel what you need to feel at some point in order to move forward.
nah, you definitely will. Like, that's the biggest thing. You definitely gonna have to feel it at some point. But you
So
gotta embrace it. You have to embrace it when it comes around.
I'm telling you, my therapist tells me emotions are our friends.
Yeah,
Whether you like it or not, like it's okay for them to be your friends. Feel what you need to feel. And I tell people all
for
the
sure.
time is do research. I don't think people truly understand how many emotions are really out there because there's 22. And it's just do your research, emotional intelligence, look into it, learn about it. I'm telling you, it'll
Definitely
change
gotta
your
do your
perspective.
research.
So kind of want to ask one more question before we end this whole episode.
Let's do it.
So my question for you is, what advice would you give to younger Keevan?
Hmm. What advice would I give to younger Kiva? Um, the biggest advice I'll give to myself is just listen right away, but also not listening to everything is not always a good thing. You know, you can, and for me to elaborate on that, like you can be a sponge and listen to a lot of things and take a lot of things in, but doesn't it's not like a lot of things are good for you.
Hmm.
And sometimes we like, there's something I learned is like over listening, and sometimes you have to think for yourself, and that's the biggest thing I would give it to my younger self is just not everybody got the right answers and want the right things for you, so you have to learn the difference between both,
Hmm.
and 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 feel it in your heart that what was really going to work out for you and what's not going to work out for you. I think that's the biggest thing because anybody can feed you a bunch of words, but actions speak louder than words. And
Facts,
so,
100%. I tell people
and
also.
so,
I tell people listen before you react,
nah, for
right?
sure. And then
Listen
that's
before
the
you
big
react.
thing.
And
I know.
also just like with what you're saying, just to kind of like go off of like the advice you're giving to your younger self is just use the evidence you have to tell if this is a good person or not,
Nah,
right?
for sure.
Because like you said, like people are going to say what they want to say, people are going to feed you what they want to feed you, what they feel like you want to hear, but like use the evidence you have to determine is this a good person or not, because you have the evidence inside you. It's just you have to be able to use that to determine, is this person really doing what's best for me or are they just feeding me bullshit?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You gotta be able to read BS, but as a young kid, it's kind of like
It's
hard to
hard
read BS.
because
So
you're learning. I think that's the thing, is like as a child, like we don't know how to put things in different departments in our brain, right? Everything is just flowing and we're not emotionally mature enough to understand that. And I think that's the
yeah,
thing, is just that's life.
nah, it is like, and it's just not like, and it's just don't be gullible as much, like as in just that's why I'm saying like when it comes to the aspect of listening and stuff, don't be gullible and just believe everything you hear. And so that's the biggest advice I give to my younger self, and just keep making everybody else like smile, but don't forget to make yourself smile. Like, you feel me? You can please everybody in the world, but if you ain't happy,
You're
then what's the
doing
point?
everyone else a disservice. Like
Right?
you're doing everyone else a disservice. So take care of you no matter what. I think that's the hardest thing, is you got to protect yourself. You got to look out for yourself and you got to put yourself first sometimes. People say it's
Yeah,
selfish, but it's okay to be selfish sometimes.
that's what I'm saying. Because once you get older, you learn that nice guys finish last, and so it's
Sadly.
just it's a sad thing, but it's a very true thing in the world. So you have to be able to love yourself at a young age, and just like not and listen to when you need to listen, and just take in what's taken in, but don't always take everything fully. Take certain things with a grain of salt, right? Because you never know what impact you'll have on you in the future.
You're
That's the
preaching.
biggest.
Preaching to the choir. Nah, man. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hop on the pod. Really enjoyed the conversation. Um,
Definitely.
I love having good connections, and I feel like this was a good conversation. I felt like I could
No,
connect
this
with
was
you.
definitely a good kind of conversation. I learned so much about you while you learned so much about me.
I think that's the thing, is like we gotta connect with people. So if anyone wants to connect with you and continue having a conversation with you about anything that we discussed today, what would be the
Mhm.
best way for them to get a hold of you?
Um, Probably my Instagram. You can always shoot me a DM, or have like you know follow me and I'll notice it, and then we can have that conversation there. But no, mostly my Instagram. Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
What's your Instagram handle? Let them know.
So My Instagram is Keevin KeevinE3. So just if y'all want to tune in and do that, we can definitely do that.
All right, you're a TikTok live creator, and you didn't even shout out your TikTok. So where could
I usually don't shout my TikTok out. That's crazy, but I don't think it's hard to find me. Yeah.
That's funny. I just think it's funny how you're a TikTok live creator and you didn't even mention TikTok.
I know that's crazy. Right? I mean, honestly, sometimes I be forgetting that, like that. I have a good following rate. I do like do different things online where it's just like gets people's attention and just I be forgetting that and like,
It's all
but
good because you don't put yourself in a box. I think that's the biggest thing is
yeah,
you're much more than a basketball player. You're much more than a TikTok live creator. You're
yeah,
Keevin, and it's a beautiful thing, and you're a great person. So keep
no,
doing
for
you,
sure.
man.
You are too, Austin. Don't forget that.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Well, again,
For
thank
sure.
you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hop on the pod. And thank
Thank you
you
for
all.
having me.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to put all of Keevan's information in the description below. If you all happen to reach out to him, please just make sure you notate on how you found him. I'm sure he will greatly appreciate it. Again, do not forget to follow us on social media. It is at Ignyte Your Why. That's INGYTE, not with an I. You can find us on all social media platforms. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. If you're watching this video on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notification bell so you never miss an episode. Again, I appreciate you all. And always remember, find your purpose, ignite your why, and I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.